and welcome to episode 207 of our SAP on Azure Video Podcast. Today is September 4th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So, as you might know, I'm a product manager for SAP integration here at Microsoft. In this role, I always try to connect with customers, listen to them, learn from them about their feedback, and then obviously get this back into our products. Obviously, I do this a lot with individual customers, but SAP User Groups, like the ASUG, the Americas SAP User Group, they are the perfect place to get a consolidated view of what SAP customers and partners think. So today, I'm again super happy to have Geoff Scott, the CEO of ASUG, with us today. Geoff, before we start our discussion, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself. What is the king doing, basically?
Well, good morning. At least it's morning in my time zone. I think it's afternoon in your time zone. And as you said, it's early September, so it feels a little bit like fall is coming. So I do have my morning coffee. I am speaking to both of you from Chicago, Illinois, where I will be for the next couple of days before we start this multi-month sprint to December. It's been a blazingly fast year thus far, and I have this colossal fear that we will arrive at December 31st in a blink of an eye, and I'll be wondering what happened. There's been so much going on inside of the SAP ecosystem. But Holger, you asked me a question this morning. You said, "Who am I?" So by way of introduction, I'm Geoff Scott. I'm the CEO of ASUG, the Americas SAP User Group, the most prominent, the most influential, the best user group in the entire world. And I only say that because both of you are in Germany, and I'm sure my friends and colleagues at DSAG are listening and getting very upset that I would say such outlandish things that are half-truths. Again,
but
Geoff
you are
Scott,
the biggest
CEO.
user group, right? I mean,
And the
ASUG
best.
is the biggest user group.
It's the biggest, yeah.
So we say, but we also, are in a country that's, multiple sizes larger than DSAG. So I will say we're one of many user groups. I will not offend and upset my fellow user group participants all over the world, regardless of where you are. I would say being an integral member and a contributing member, an enthusiastic member of the user community is essential to your long-term success as an SAP professional. So I think that that's kind of the thing to say. And, if you're in the United States and Canada, there's no place better than ASUG. If you're in Germany, there's no place better than DSAG. If you're in Wales, there's no place better than UK, Ireland. But if you're in Ireland, definitely you should be part of ASUG. I'm kidding. That's just a joke. It's an American humor. It's very selective. I've been the ASUG CEO for 10 years. Prior to that, I was a CIO at multiple different places. So I've been around the SAP ecosystem, like many of us, longer than I care to admit. And as my age continues to progress, longer than I even remember. So, it's been a wonderful opportunity to lead this community. Every time I think this can't continue to accelerate, and it does, and things change, and we're at a wonderful kind of crossroads and kind of an inflection point of a lot of stuff going on that I'm sure we'll get into today. And my final thing to say is, as we were comparing and looking at notes this morning, it's about a year since I've last seen both of you. So, at least on this podcast, I've seen you in other places.
Yes.
So it's been a year since you last had me on, and I figured the last time you would never invite me back. So I'm tickled that you were brave enough to bring me back in again.
No, Geoff, I really have to say the discussions with you are always very enlightful. Not only in our podcast that we had, but similarly when I met you at the latest Sapphire event, when we also met in the last DSAG event. That was always really, really great to have these discussions with you. And I think, you spoke about these different user groups, and I think what I really like is that even though well, I would not even say you are competing. You are covering a certain area and you're working closely together. I think just today or yesterday, there was an email from DSAG and ASUG about a survey around artificial intelligence. And that shows, so the different user groups, you are working very closely together. I think Jens Hungershausen, the board member of DSAG, I think you know him extremely well. You're collaborating very closely with him. So I think that's exactly where, yes, you are the CEO of ASUG, but you also work very closely with the other user groups.
100%. And I believe that DSAG's annual Congress is coming up in a few
Yep.
weeks. I will not be there this year. I've been there the last couple of years. I will not be able to make it over for that, but I'm excited that in a couple of weeks, several thousand, and I'm sure Jens will tell me that I should say 10,000. I don't think it's quite that much.
Not yet.
Not yet. Of DSAG members are coming together to talk about their investment in SAP technologies and where they want to go. And I think that's tremendous. So, all the user communities are, I believe, are essential if you want to be part of this SAP ecosystem. And when I say ecosystem, I mean the customers, the partners, of which Microsoft is tremendous, and SAP itself. That's the ecosystem. The three of us coming together, and the purpose of the global user communities is to be kind of a glue that binds all of that together, really in relentless pursuit of getting value out of this amazing software that powers so many enterprises across the globe.
Yeah, and I think again what I said in the introduction, for me as a product manager, this is super helpful to hear from customers what they think, what's annoying them, what are they excited about at the moment, but also from a customer perspective, these places, the ASUG, like the ASUG Tech Connect that is coming up, the different events where DSUG and ASUG are participating, these are so valuable for me also as a customer to learn what's new, to exchange with other customers, to hear what are they doing. So I think the work that ASUG and other communities are doing is so fantastic and so useful for everyone involved. So that's why I think it's great, and it's fantastic to have you here again.
Wonderful to be back.
But you were there last time a year ago.
A year ago.
And 1 year in this very accelerated time, it's a lot. So we talk a lot about the cloud. Now it's even more and more AI. RISE is also playing a big role. What would you say, or how much you would compare to the last year? What happened, or what from a bird's view perspective?
Wonderful question. I would say first and foremost, what's become apparent to me is we are running towards, and we're part of, an AI-enabled future. I don't know exactly what an AI-enabled future means, right? So I think we're still trying to figure this out. But, when you look at the energy and the excitement around generative AI and its ability to do these amazing things, it really tells me that there's something here that we all as technology professionals and practitioners need to really understand. And the way that I think about it is this, is where do you and your organization want to be on the innovation curve? And I think of the innovation curve as a bell curve. And, if you say, and I think most people do, that I want to be in the middle to the right side of that bell curve. And I don't think there's a lot that want to be on the bleeding right end. Most should be, somewhere to the right of middle, right? So that means I want to be taking advantage of innovation. I want to be thinking about how to get efficiencies out of my operations. I want to be using technology to really enable business process speed and efficiency and quality. And so middle to the right side. And if that's where I want to be, that necessitates, in my view, three essential elements. And you gentlemen covered it already. Number one, you're in the cloud. And the reason why is because you need to innovate at scale, and the cloud is the only place to do that. Number two, you need to be really thinking about your investment in SAP as a software as a service investment, not a basic tool that you can customize at will and modify, but really something where you're moving the responsibility and the ownership of the vast majority of the code back to SAP, right? You as a customer are not going to enter into long-term code maintenance and customization exercises. So that's number two. So SaaS, and that's where RISE and Grow potentially come in.
Yep.
And then number three, if you do 1 and 2 and you really minimize the customizations that you make to the software, if you can do those three things and you can do them well, and most customers are just getting started on this journey, then you have a really good opportunity to take advantage of innovation at speed and scale. and you get a really good opportunity to take advantage of these AI tools that are coming out. If you don't do those three things, then taking advantage of these AI tools is going to be exceedingly hard, and you are going to find yourself waiting at the very back of the line for these tools to come about. So if you said, hey, well, I don't agree with you, Geoff, I think my on-prem software and my ECC implementation is just fine, then that's okay. That's your choice. But you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of AI tools and software. And when I think about that, it's no different than Microsoft 365, right?
Exactly.
Which, if I want to take advantage of Copilot, I need to be on Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
I think SAP, I think Microsoft has done a tremendous job of making this, Microsoft product suite cloud enabled, and cloud ready. And what I think is really wonderful about and I think it's a great metaphor for how we should be thinking about our SAP implementations, is I can certainly run my desktop version of Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint. I can also run it in the cloud, right? So if I'm on an airplane, I need to get to something really fast, I can do it that way. I mean, I think Microsoft's done a great job of making the software available as I need to consume it. Not perfect, but pretty close. And I think that that's an example of a future cloud-enabled environment. I think we as technology professionals, right? And I think all of this underscores tectonic change management that needs to occur. So if I've spent my life in my profession as a basis person or a FICO configurer or an ABAP programmer or, any of those roles in between, and I certainly didn't mean to be comprehensive in my description, our role as technology practitioners is changing radically, right? Is really going to be very different in a future world. And that's, change is something funny, right? Change is always easier when you point to someone else and say, you need to change. But when you point internally and say, hey, I need to change, that's hard. And I think we are just as responsible as I have said, and we have said as ASUG, the global system implementers need to change and need to think about a new world. SAP is thinking about a new world. We as customers need to think about a new world as well. And I think the only way we really get to innovation at speed and scale is to stop trying to keep the lights running every day and keep the lights on, and really think about how do we really use this software to really get to new levels of productivity, efficiency, quality, and user engagement.
Yeah,
that was a long answer for me.
No, but that's perfect, and I think it clearly already shows actually. So for example, we have been working with the S/4HANA public cloud team very intensely for the last few months, or actually already years. And we just released a Copilot, a Microsoft Copilot integration with S/4HANA public cloud. The reason why we could do this with such a speed is because it's a SaaS solution. Both are SaaS solutions. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is a SaaS solution. S/4HANA Public Cloud is a SaaS solution. So it was really fantastic to see. Actually, we are working there with a fantastic team from SAP in Bangalore. They are really amazing. There are some fantastic developers there. And they were able to quickly develop these plugins, these enhancements with Copilot connected to their APIs, and a lot of hurdles that you have with on-premise solutions. Like there's so much customization, and how do we connect through the firewall, and how do we do the authentication, because you have all these things. They are much more standardized with S/4HANA
100%.
Public Cloud. So connecting these two things was fairly simple. And now we have a beautiful scenario, and as part of this early adopter care program, we have quite a lot of customers that already signed up. So this is for me the perfect example. Yes, on-premise is good, but if you can leverage cloud solutions, if you can leverage SaaS solutions, then the speed of innovation is so much faster.
Yeah,
I'm sure this Copilot integration will also come to private cloud customers at some point in time.
But
there's a delay because it cannot be as quickly implemented as in a SaaS solution.
You and I the three of us are on exactly the same page. And I think that's a brilliant example of what I'm talking about, right? In practice, which means that ideally, and I'm going to underline the word ideally, because I also recognize that there's other things happening around a customer landscape and an SAP landscape. If I could do this from scratch, if I could start over, right, it would be running my SAP implementation on public cloud, right, would be, because that's a SaaS solution. But for many customers, that may not be achievable right now, especially if I've been, on an SAP platform for a long period of time.
Yep.
That may be a significant undertaking, and an undertaking. And this is where I go back to SAP and I remind them over and over again about this, is your customer base cannot move at the speed that you think they can, right? That, if I am we act like everyone else has got nothing better to do than wait around for SAP and Microsoft to release new versions. We're just sitting here as customers going, oh, what am I going to do today? Looking around, and they're like, oh, cool. There's new code for me. Finally, I got something to do today. There's new code for me to test, right? And, most customers have a long, long list of projects to accomplish. And for most of them, the top one on the list isn't, in the business's mind, moving to S4. It's a whole litany of other things. So what you have to do as a technology professional is get the business to recognize that you're going to take a priority and move it way up to the top of the list that they may not exactly understand is a priority. Hey, I want to be able to do these things in my plants. I want to be able to do these things with my services. I want to be able to have new customer experiences, not necessarily implement S4 public cloud. Absolutely. I think that's some of the things we struggle with. And I think for the average customer, some of these, rotations are not done in 6 months. They're done in 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking, basically, ideally is the SaaS, definitely, everything is stable. But it seems to me it's more like, North Stars to achieve, right? 100%. From everybody, including. Yeah. So probably a kind of journey where you would move into the cloud, and gets definitely a lot of benefits from the underlying cloud infrastructure. It does make sense because it gives you also a lot of innovation.
Right.
It's still not the full SaaS, right? Although there is a lot of efforts there in managed hosting, but definitely it is a step forward in that direction.
Much the same as I think clean core is a journey and not necessarily a very well-defined end state destination, right? It's most customers, to get to a clean core puristic view, and I don't even know that we've got a clear definition of what that is right now. It is very difficult for most customers. And similarly, I think this word technical debt potentially infers something that isn't very fair. Right, which is, you need to get rid of technical debt. Well, I don't think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the average customer sat down at their cubicle. I'm going to go back 10 years, sat down one morning at their office and said, "Today's the day I am going to really create technical debt. I am just going to spend the next 8 hours just making my legacy known, and I'm going to make sure that this technical debt reverberates for decades to come." I don't think that's what people did, right? They made these changes because they had no other options, right? Yep. Now, maybe that's because they didn't really understand the software, so they made some changes, or the fact that the software didn't do what they needed it to do. 10 years ago, we didn't know about the potential of cloud. We didn't know about the potential of SaaS, and we certainly didn't know about this thing called generative AI. So taking and looking at and measuring the world against measuring the past world against the standards we've set today is not really a very fair thing to do, right? Because people made the best choices they made at the time that they could make them.
And actually, if I look at Microsoft, for example, we have a clear SaaS strategy, even for SAP. So for us, it was very clear when it comes to SAP Concur, when it comes to SuccessFactors. These are SaaS solutions, so we want to leverage them. Now, when it comes to our core ERP system, that's actually still on ECC.
Yes, it is.
We are trying to get to S/4HANA, but this is a long process, and there are so many modifications. We have had this ECC system for tens of years in the meantime. So as you said, there are a lot of modifications. There are a lot of things. And to some extent, some of the modifications were just necessary at that time. The software was not ready, but that was actually one of the beautiful things of SAP, that you could go in the code, you could exchange it, you could enhance it. That is for me really one of the beautiful things that SAP invented there.
Yes, 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 right? When we started this journey with SAP as customers 50 years ago, SAP never said, its founder, Hasso Plattner, didn't say, I've written software for you that will do everything you need it to do, and you will run my software and make no modifications. He never made that commitment. He said, I've got something for you to start with.
Exactly.
And customers were like, cool, I could use your software to get the things done I need to do, and I can add to it. Exactly, Holger, right? We never said, oh, never touch this, right? We never did that. So now to apply that standard was a little unfair, right? So, and I think even with SaaS, right, one of the things we overlook when we talk about public cloud, right, is, there isn't one public cloud. I mean, the reality is that every business breaks down into industry verticals. Mm-hmm. Some span industries. And the way that the fashion industry operates is radically different from the way that regulated industries operate, radically different from the way discrete manufacturing operates. And so the software, SAP's been brilliant and changed their software over the decades to accommodate these different industry needs and wants. Not all of that is available today in public cloud. And that's where I think the rubber meets the road, is we can have a very kind of long-term view and sit up on a high cliff and look down and go, oh, you should be on public cloud. When the reality is those looking up go, I'd love to be, but I just can't get there quite yet because there's essential things I need to do in my business that I can't do on this.
Yeah. But the other thing that I also think a lot of businesses still don't know about how beautiful, how powerful S/4HANA is in the meantime. When I was at Sapphire, Jan Gilg and Eric von
ASUG annual conference.
Yes, and ASUG. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Eric von Rossum lives down the road from me here in Chicago, a wonderful Chicago resident, and Jan Gilg, a resident of Germany, two wonderful people. Yeah.
So when you next meet Eric, then tell him.
I just saw him a couple weeks ago.
I loved his presentation there because Jan, and this was really one of my favorite presentations. Jan Gilg had a slide where he said, look, this is the S/4HANA user interface. And this is the SAP GUI interface, like 10 years in between.
Right.
And the SAP GUI I'm still using the SAP GUI in my
thing
daily
we love
life.
to hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the S/4HANA user interface in the meantime looks so beautiful. And I think that's what a lot of customers don't understand. They still think a lot of cases, even when it comes to S/4HANA, in the SAP GUI way, and they don't really grasp the beauty and the power that is in the meantime available in S/4HANA. So yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, not everything is there yet, especially in S/4HANA public cloud. There are a few things where things are missing, but the roadmap is very clear there, and I think it's getting better and better and better. And in a lot of cases, S/4HANA public cloud is actually a really strong tool in the meantime.
Yeah, no, I think you're making a really good point. And it's something that, what's interesting to me is, and this is fascinating about the SAP global ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. Is how many customers are running legacy SAP GUI and it's embedded into their business processes. Right. So one of the things that I think about is there are many people using SAP on a day in, day out basis, and probably SAP GUI, whose primary job is not to be technology professionals, but to get other work done, to get product loaded onto ships, to get product out of a warehouse, to get product through a plant, to do these things. And they're hired for those specific skills. not necessarily because they are super duper, technology users like we are every day, right? And so when I think about some of the organizations we talk to who have thousands of users using SAP GUI, and when you say to them, yeah, well, me moving off of SAP GUI where I can do a couple of keystrokes, even though you and I kind of roll our eyes at the SAP GUI in 2 keystrokes, that now I've got to use a pointer and a mouse and this and that, and that would take me, months to train a workforce, right? I remember way back in my olden days, having to work on a plant floor in a warehouse and teach, and teach people how to use a mouse. And you could watch some of the folks in the distribution center struggle with this thing called a mouse, something that you and I use every day. And they were like, what, huh? And I'm like, I can't believe, and that was when a light bulb went off in my head, is we didn't hire these individuals to be power users. We hired them to get a work done. And even in today's modern world, right? I mean, most of them are pretty adept at using, a mobile device like an Android or an iPhone. But they use it for stuff like social media, which is a totally different interface and a totally different thing than what we do with SAP.
Yeah.
I can't put smiley emojis and tear emojis into my SAP transactions.
You remind me very much of, can you remember Star Trek 4 when Scotty was talking to his mouse?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, wow. You're going to go to, we started with a different set of comedy before we started rolling and recording. But yeah, let's go to Star Trek. Yeah, when he holds the mouse up and like a microphone. I do remember that.
No, it's really cool what's happening there at the moment. And generative AI will definitely change a lot of things, how we interact. A lot of things will be automated there. So I'm sure,
hopefully.
The whole S/4HANA and everything, how we interact with an S/4HANA system, with SaaS solutions, that will change quite a bit, I would say. So I think we quickly talked about the DSAG, the upcoming DSAG conference, but I think one other important thing, now we have TechEd coming up. And I think, TechEd changes dramatically, I would say. But luckily, there's something called ASUG Tech Connect, which I think
even better.
will be a fantastic replacement or addition to TechEd.
So TechEd still exists, but this year TechEd is a virtual program. It's only going to be delivered digitally to your closest laptop screen. So if you are a extreme introvert and you just want to learn in a one-way, unidirectional way, TechEd is an amazing place for you to go. If you also like to have an add-on component, which is you want to meet with your peers, you want to exchange stories, you want to learn in a collaborative environment, in North America, Tech Connect is your destination. And this year it'll be November 11th through the 14th in Florida, in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area. And what I love about Tech Connect, and this is the second year we've done it. Last year we did it in New Orleans. This year we're going to be in West Palm Beach. Is it wraps up the year and gets you ready for 2025, which, as we've been talking about, I can't believe I'm saying 2025 in September.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be here before we know it. So that's what I love about Tech Connect is it's the last great destination for you to wrap up your year and get ready to kick off 2025 with a head start and getting out of the starting blocks at high speed. BTP, Clean Core, S/4HANA, all of that is going to be part of what's going on at Tech Connect. And it's a tremendous, so if you're in North America, and by the way, we talked about DSAG. There was a number of DSAG folks who attended Tech Connect last year as well. But if you're in North America or South America, because those are easy destinations, and you want a collaborative, peer-based, peer-to-peer opportunity to connect, learn, and grow, Tech Connect is fabulous. And it's a wonderful partnership with SAP. We do this as ASUG. We do this collaboratively with SAP, and it's been tremendous.
No, and for me, honestly, I mean, I love going to TechEd. I think the content that was always presented there by SAP is fantastic. But I would say equal or even more important was always the fact to connect with my peers, to
Yeah.
connect with other
I
customers.
think that's how we learn, right?
Exactly. So that's why I'm super thankful actually that ASUG is doing this, that DSUG is doing this for the German, the European communities, but that we really have these Tech Connect sessions where we work together, where we bring the community together, the technical community together, so they can work on these things. So for me, this is absolutely crucial and really good that we have these sessions there.
I think today, when I think about the average enterprise architect, their world is so much more complicated than it was 5 or 10 years ago, right? You mentioned this earlier, and I think Microsoft is a tremendous partner, right? They are a great case study. You talked about Microsoft migrating from their legacy ECC migration to S4. And I think it's important to say that, like many other SAP customers, they've moved certain things already onto S4, and certain things still need to move. And there's a big project to do that. So they are following, and they look a lot like a lot of the other major enterprises out there trying to figure out that strategy. But you spoke a little bit earlier about Copilot and SAP Joule, right? And that integration, and how do I, as a customer, learn how to work through some of the complexities of those things, right? So, to me, AI is not just one single solution offered by one single organization. Everyone has jumped on the AI bandwagon. And is offering an AI. And if I'm an enterprise architect and I'm trying to figure out, how do we as an enterprise utilize the best parts of Copilot? How do we, leverage the best parts of Joule? How do we leverage the best parts of everything else? Those are essential questions that I don't think you get answered clearly in a virtual, environment. I think this is where you need to have conversations, because everyone has a different take on it. And the best place to do that is face to face. We talk about, we talk about, I think that there's never enough we can do as organizations to, have face-to-face conversations. They are essential. Yeah.
And then if you're sitting together in a hands-on session or something like that, working on a problem or following a guide or something like that, and then you sit next to another customer that you never worked with, or that you never heard, but now you're sitting in the same room, working on the same problem, and then you come in a conversation that is so powerful, and that unfortunately does not work in a virtual event.
Case in point, right? I do like to code. It's something that I do, but I'm doing less and less of because I'm getting less and less good at it. And if I'm trying to code something and I can't figure out, if we want to get really technical, I'm doing something in VBA, right? Or I'm doing something in iOS, and I'm like, I can't remember what the statement is, how to do this. Generative AI, using a Copilot is tremendous.
Yes.
Getting that very tactical answer, I can go, to Stack Overflow or other places to get that. Here's how you get the statement done. Got it. But if I have a bigger question about how exactly would I set up the architecture of this app, I'm not going to find that on most online forums, right? That's way beyond their ability to handle it. So it's these face-to-face conversations where I've got to go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, Geoff. I think that was already a great discussion. Maybe before we close, is there anything top of mind for you or top of mind for ASUG?
We've been working very closely with Microsoft, right, as well as others, and I think the Microsoft and SAP partnership is tremendous. I think it's very important. I think as customers, and the vast majority, not everyone, but the vast majority of SAP customers are also customers of Microsoft. Yep. Right? Understanding how these tools are going to integrate over time is incredibly important. How is Copilot going to integrate with Joule? How do you really get the most out of your Microsoft Office 365 solution set? As I said, architectures are more complex than ever. We're all using different pieces and parts of various different enterprise tools. At some point, they need to be integrated. And how do we
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
that? How do we use the best and brightest of all of this stuff to make that happen? That's the complexity of the world we live in today. And I think that there's just a lot to, I mean, I'm fascinated by how fast this is moving.
Yep. Me too. So perfect. I think these are some
Wonderful
great
conversation. Thank you,
closing
gentlemen.
words. Yeah, exactly. And maybe, Geoff, if we repeat this in a year from now or something like that, maybe we will see then how
The whole world will
fast Gen
change.
AI has been integrated already in the SAP world, or some other cool things about software as a service, or how far Microsoft is in adopting S/4HANA public cloud. So yeah, will be a great.
It's a tremendous story. We should talk more about it.
Maybe we
Yeah.
will have 3 bots talking to each other, you know.
Oh, yeah. But are they going to say anything interesting? I don't know.
No. It will not be as fun.
Gentlemen, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm going to enjoy my coffee. Wonderful chatting and catching up, and hopefully our audience today got something out of it.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Geoff.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.